Grassroots Sessions.
Take my pain away. I'm tired of being awake, but everybody dies right in front of my eyes, and I know that I'm alive. Take this body of mine, hold my temporary shrine, make love to my human mind, and I know, yes I know that I'm alive. I try to change the past, but everything changes so fast. Lost and found that nothing lasts, and I know, yes I know that I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. And I wonder what it's like to no longer have this life. I wonder if my soul survives. Will I know that I'm alive? I'm alive. I'm Take my song as your gift, for this is all that I can give. The only reason I exist is to know, just to know that I'm alive.
Hello, beautiful beings. Thank you so much for joining us on today's Grassroots Sessions. If you enjoyed today's song, please pop a quid in our virtual hat via the PayPal link below. Thank you so much to everyone who's been making donations, and thank you so much to our patrons on Patreon. We love you. Your names are at the end of these videos, and we literally couldn't be making these without your support, so thank you so much. They're helping us incredibly while we can't gig. And we are so excited to hopefully be doing live shows again at some point this year. And so today's song was written by Katie, and it's on our GMI album. And it's such a wonderful song, and thank you for letting me accompany you.
It was nice with the piano.
Wasn't it? There's a bit more piano today. Sean, my brother Sean, is on the drums on the GMI, the album version.
It's still super stripped back on that version though, isn't it? It's like,
it is, yeah.
It's nice. You got you guys.
In fact, we do
clicks. That was missing. Miss you, Sean O'Bongo.
But
I love that song. It's really beautiful, really just written in grief, really, like sort of written in the year or so after we lost Gemini, and just coming through some mad grief and just sort of song flowing out like that, and just picking up on the themes of like the grief that everyone has to go through, and it's quite a sad song really. So first line, take my pain away. Tired of being awake when everybody dies right in front of my eyes. yeah, it's just written after losing our son, and he literally just died in my arms, and I was like, look, I can still see his eyes in my mind right now, like his pupil in his eye just went from being like a regular pupil to like going to like this tiny pinpoint of a nothingness, and all of like the light in his eye, it was like looking at a galaxy or a universe, and everything just went like that, and I'm just looking into his eyes like this as it's happening. He was on the breast and he was feeding, but he was struggling and he's having a difficult time, and we'd rushed him to the hospital, and we're trying to convince them that there's something major wrong, and they're like thinking that we're overprotective parents, and they're like, oh, he's fine, and we get loads of kids in this time of year, and they just constantly kept trying to tell me that it was fine, and I knew it wasn't. And yeah, he was having a really difficult time, and they were on the phone to his other doctor, and I was just like, I remember just calling like repeatedly, please help, please help, please help. And yeah, it was just one of them where there was like no one there. It was really late on in the emergency room, and so then I'm holding him and he's feeding and he's having this really difficult time, and all of a sudden his eye does that thing where it's just like all this energy, and then he then his eyes rolled right back, and I sort of rolled him onto this table, and all of a sudden then there was like 10 nurses and doctors in the room trying to help. But I really felt then that was when he was, you know, when looking back on it, I feel like that's when he left his body, in that moment of that intense energy. And yeah, that line of, you know, when everybody dies right in front of my eyes, it's like just yeah, how we all have to lose everyone that we love, and it's pretty intense being here in this life when everything is so temporary. And yeah, they tried for like half an hour to bring him back into his body, but his spirit was just like in the universe then. And yeah, that's what that line's about. And then the next verse is, take this body of mine, hold my temporary shrine, make love to my human mind, then I'll know I'm alive. And that's about my union with you, beautiful Alex, and how just about how our bodies are temporary, and how we can sort of align in this physical realm and entwine with each other, but then there's this sort of metaphysical realm as well, like in the realms of the minds that we you know, entwine, as well as our physical bodies. There's the you know, metaphysical minds that we entwine with each other as well. And then the next verse is, what is the next verse? Oh, I tried to change the past, but everything changes so fast. Lost and found that nothing lasts. Yeah, so it's really written like after losing Gemini, and just feeling like everything is so temporary, and you can't change it. You literally can't wind back time. It's the craziest thing when all you want to do is just go back and be with the person that's no longer with you, and like you can't turn it back. It's like this helpless feeling, this like ancient grief. You know, a lot of music is born out of that grief. Like a lot of the there's an amazing film actually called Lacho Drum, and it follows the gypsy folk tribes from their journey from India all the way through to Spain, and the nomadic people and the music that came with them, and a lot of it was born out of grief and longing and sadness, and just this such a powerful energy in that emotion that we all share, you know, when we lose someone that we love and we can't hold them, we can't look them in the eye anymore, and you literally like holding their body but they're not there. It's like the most helpless feeling. And you know, especially as a mother, when all you want to do is look after your child and keep them safe, and then, you know, then they're not here in this realm with you anymore, and they've gone from their body. Like the most helpless feeling of not knowing whether they're okay or whether they need you, and like it's just absolutely awful. Like, I mean, I had so many panic attacks after losing Gemini. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack, but it's literally feel like you're gonna die. And I was like going to the hospital telling them I'm gonna die now, and like just the
your heart was pumping, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah.
And like just the intense
pounding
nature that grief can take forms in. Like one of them was that my body was like shaking uncontrollably. Do you remember that? And I was just like, I couldn't make my body stop shaking. It was just like, I feel like this, just all this like sort of trauma just trying to get out or something. I don't know. Yeah, so that verse was really about not being able to change what's happened, you know, and lost and found that nothing lasts, and I'll know that I'm alive. You know, just being alive in this dimension means having to come to terms with all of that. The fact that everything is temporary, the fact that everyone we love will have to leave their bodies and we'll have to leave ours too, and then we really are only left with that metaphysical mind aspect because the physical body is gone, you know. And we had our son's physical body with us for a few days, and had that beautiful time where we singing to him and putting flowers around him and blessing him, and but really feeling like he wasn't there, you know. He was off somewhere in the universe on his mission, and his vessel was here with us, and it was so beautiful to have that. And his vessel is now, you know, his body is feeding the earth where he's buried, and feeding all of the, you know, he was buried in a willow basket, and he was covered in herbs, and yeah, he's just sort of become back one with the earth now. And the next verse is, I wonder what it's like to no longer have this life. I wonder if my soul survives, will I know that I'm alive? And again, just the same theme of loss and grief. And then, you know, when you witness someone you love die, then you come face to face with your own death as well, and your own sort of fear of that unknown. But then also feeling like there was a strange feeling of feeling like my boy Jemai, he's so brave, and he faced that with no fear because he was so innocent. He didn't know what fear was in a way. He didn't know what war or suffering or hunger or any of these things. He was such an innocent soul, and the way that he faced his own death, and I witnessed that, gave me a feeling of great respect and honour, and the feeling of, you know, if Jemai can do it, then we can. I mean, you know, we don't really get a choice in the matter, but just feeling that that I can do that too, and I can face the fear of my own death and accept that, and just be totally humbled by the fact that, you know, we're all in this together, and every one of us has to experience it. You know, obviously when it's a young child, it's a whole different dimension, and it's just something that you just wouldn't wish on anyone for that to happen. Like, it's just awful, but, you know, ultimately we are all in that same position of having to lose everyone that we love ultimately, whether it's, you know, whether it's ourselves that die, we lose our children in that respect, because we go from these bodies into, you know, other dimensions, other experiences, other realms, who knows. And then the last verse is, take my song as your gift, for this is all that I can give. The only reason that I exist is to know that I'm alive. And yeah, that's about accepting that I could die tomorrow, and then thinking this song is what I want to leave behind, sort of thing. That if my body's gone and I'm gone, then someone could hear my song, then that is a gift that I've imparted to this world before I leave. And just that sort of feeling of that's all that I can really give, because I have nothing, and I'm, you know, and I feel the same way about paintings in a way, that to do a painting and then to pass through to then to die, you're sort of leaving a gift into this world, you know. And any art, any sort of creation, that's what that verse is about. Yeah, and then the sort of the resounding theme of I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. I actually remember when Jemai passed in the hospital, and all these doctors and nurses came out of nowhere, and they were really trying to sort of resuscitate him. I remember at that time we, in the moment, didn't know that he had left his body, and we were really thinking, okay, these guys are going to save him now, and then we'll go on to the next step or whatever. And we were chanting what we was, well, I might have been chanting on my own, I can't remember, we were chanting together. I was just clapping, and I just kept singing, Gemma, you're alive, Gemma, you're alive, Gemma, you're alive, and I just kept singing it over and over again. And then that was like resounding round and round, and yeah, just the theme of I'm alive is like sort of almost just reminding myself that I'm alive, and that with life comes all of this, facing your own death, facing the death of everyone you love, you know, life is temporary, all these things that I've been speaking about a lot is just the resounding themes of the song. It's quite a really sad song actually, isn't it?
Came out of all that grief though, didn't it? And it's part of what's grounded you now is doing this music. You know, we did the Gemini album for several reasons. It really helped us process our grief, and it allowed us to try and turn the energy of trauma into something creative, didn't it? And it also gave us opportunity to grieve with others, which we never knew was possible until we went through this tragedy, and all of a sudden people start talking to us openly about their grief and suffering, and you know,
and that's really amazing. We actually really feel a great connection with people when we can connect on that level, because it's so you know, there's very rarely an opportunity to talk about your grief with people. It's one of them things that's brushed under the rug. Stay positive, get on with it, and it's very rarely an opportunity to actually open up and chat to people about it, especially because people don't want to bring it up because they don't want to upset you, and then so there doesn't ever seem to be the right time to bring it up. So for us to sort of put it all into the music and then do this grief tour that we did, and then to really kind of open up the conversation and speak about it freely with everyone, and you know, just to let everyone know that we're all in that same boat together. And that made us feel less alone, because a lot of people were like, you know, obviously when it's a child, it's like a lot of people saying, you know, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to anyone. And we had to say a few times to people, you know, it's not the worst thing that could happen to anyone, because unfortunately there's been people lose 2 children, 3 children, 5 children. There's obviously there's infinite number of worst case scenarios, and just for ourselves trying to focus on what we do have and what we did have. We got 10 incredible months with our son, and we know so many women who didn't even get 1 day with their babies, you know, and just trying to connect like that and speak with others about our grief is so important, because everyone's grief is so valid. I meet so many women who've suffered miscarriage and stillbirths, and they somehow feel that their grief isn't as valid. Everyone's grief is so valid, and it's so important to talk about. And yeah, so sorry it's been a bit of a deep one, and hope that you enjoyed learning a bit about what this song was about, and hopefully it, you know, resonates with you, and maybe when you hear it you feel different things and it brings up things in your story. You can write in the comments below if you'd like to tell us what you think of the song, and if you have any questions about the lyrics, then also let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for allowing us to share our music with you guys. We're so grateful, and yes, thank you again to our amazing patrons for making these videos happen.
Yes, we love you, beautiful beings.
Thank you. And if you enjoyed our song, feel free to pop the quid in our virtual hat. Feel free to share our video.
And thank you so much to everybody who came on that journey with us from the Gemini album through that, because we felt so held by family and friends and new friends, and just so many people who
it really turned the grief into a positive, didn't it? Because like, you know, the worst thing in the world can happen, and then it's like, oh great, now I mean, you could just basically kill yourself, or you could try. I didn't want it to be like Gemini came into our lives and then it was like everything was terrible. I really wanted Gemini, the spirit of Gemini, to feel like they came to us, and then that made our lives more rich and more full and more beautiful, and that was a big inspiration for wanting to take the music on tour and to turn it into something that could help others and to help ourselves, mainly because it was a real source of our own. It was a real source of how we were dealing with it, wasn't it? Was to sing and to share the story, and we really wanted to talk about Gemini all the time, like we still do, because he's our boy, and we don't want to forget that he, you know, it just taught us so much. And so he came, and his we tried to make it that his death and his passing wasn't this like devastating tragedy, although it obviously was. We really wanted the spirit of Jemai to feel like he was a blessing to us, which he was. He was an incredible being, absolute guru, greatest teacher that we've ever known. And I just think he was such a little Buddha of a baby. He literally didn't cause me pain to give birth to him. We've got his birth filmed, and it's just the most incredible thing to witness, because it was my first time giving birth. I didn't know what was going to happen, and everyone told me it was going to be the most excruciating thing in the world. And then on film, just like totally relaxed, thinking, oh, you know, we must be ages away because he's not gotten painful yet. And then his head was born, and like then his body was born. And I just couldn't actually fathom how incredible it was to experience a birth like that. And then so many synchronicities in his life, and all these numbers, and just the place where his body's laid to rest is on this incredible ley line. And I just feel like blessed and touched by a little angel Buddha who just literally
is wearing a little hemp crown made by a beautiful friend.
Our friend amazing Hazel crocheted him a little hat made of hemp, and then she sent it in the post for him to wear. And then as it arrived, unfortunately Jemai had passed, and we had to tell her, but we ended up it's on his head, and he's buried in the earth with the sacred hemp crown. And beautiful angel Jemai, what an amazing being, such an incredible inspiration for so much of our work, isn't he? And still is now. He's just an absolutely incredible inspiration for us. We
were processing our grief through live gigging, and when that stopped, it made us realise how many gigs we've been doing since the moment Jemai died, just to deal with the trauma and the COVID-19 stopped that, and all of a sudden we went into a bit of a moment there where we were a bit lost, because we were like, that was how we were dealing with our grief of the loss of our son. So we made 2020 Vision, and we found it really difficult last summer not to perform, because that's how we are dealing with our grief. And you know,
and then the Grassroots has been an incredible outlet for us to keep sharing our music.
And we're looking forward to making some incredible music videos this summer as well.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. You're incredible. We love you, and we'll see you next time for Grassroots Sessions.
Grassroots Sessions is made possible by our wonderful patrons who support us on Patreon. Thank you so much to all of you beautiful beings.
Please join our Patreon today to help us create more videos. Donations are also very welcome here.